राधा विनोद बिहारी जू की जय। श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मरण मोहन जू की जय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अश्वतर शतश्मत शिल भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज शिल गुरुदेव की जय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अश्वतर शतश्मत शिल भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जय। नितिल प्रविष्णुपाद अश्वतर शतश्मत शिल भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अशतर शतश्मत भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अशतर शतश्मत शिल भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जय। नितिल प्रविष्ट महाभागवत शिल गोक्षरस बाबूजी महाराज की जय। नितिल प्रविष्ट शिल सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। नितिल प्रविष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम शिल जगन्नाथ दास बाबूजी महाराज की जय। श्री रूपनो गौरिया गुरु वार्ग की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शारद गोसाई प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जय। नाम चय श्लहै रस ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जय। अभिष्ट प्रदत्त गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाय की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्री निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। धन्यवाद प्रणाम Karkaraji जी and Rup Manjari Didi. Hari Bol. Just sharing my screen now. Alright, where are we? Om Jnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad-Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhule Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalai Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha Yajantam Anupetam Apeta Krityam Dvaipayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Bhinedustang Sarva Bhutta Hridayam Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayat Shrinvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Vedantasto Yabhadrani Vidhunoti Suritsatam Nashta Prayeshvabhadreshu Nitang Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloktir Bhavati Naishtaki Tavaivasmi na jivami tvaya vina Iti vigyaya radhe tvam nayamam charanantikam Bhaktya vihina aparada lakshay Tashtakama ditaram kamadhe Kripa maitam sharanam prapanna vrinde namaste charavindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shita Gadadhar Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thumbs Indira Mataji, Gargalaji and Manjari. Let me know, is the connection somewhat decent? I'm not getting, yeah, it doesn't look like it's such a good connection. It's saying 0 out of 10. Yikes. Anyhow, let's go over this. Where am I? So yesterday, we heard how in the beginning of the 7th canto, in the first chapter of the 7th canto, King Yudhishthir asked Nārada Muni how Shishupal and Dantavakra, how did they attain Sayuja Mukti? So then Nārada Muni, he told the story of their previous births. So now the story is concluded. Narad will now relate in 3 different births the associates of Lord Vishnu that were killed by Vishnu himself. Jai and Vijay's previous birth. So the 2 associates of Vishnu, Jai and Vijay, who became the sons of Diti, Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, were both killed. By illusion, they had thought that the Supreme Lord was their enemy. So that was the first birth. The second birth was Kumbhakarna and Ravan. The third birth was Shishupal and Dantavakra. And many kings, so those were the 3 births of Jai and Vijay. Many kings who acted enemies of Krishna attained salvation and received spiritual bodies because they thought of the Lord at the time of death. Pure devotees receive Sarupya Mukti by practicing bhakti. Kings who thought of Krishna as an enemy also achieved the same result. So now Narad concludes, I've explained what you have asked about Shishupal's salvation. In this narration, various incarnations of the Lord and the killing of the 2 demons have been described. This narration describes Mahabhagavat Prahlad's bhakti, his gyan, and his varakti, his detachment. This narration also describes the qualities and activities of the Supreme Lord, and it describes Bhagavat Dharma, the principles of religion by which one understands the Lord. One who faithfully hears and chants the narration of the activities of the omnipotence of Lord Nrsimhadev, the pure devotion of Prahlad, and the killing of Hiranyakashipu. One who hears that is liberated from material bondage and transferred to the spiritual world. Link to the next section, next verse. A pure devotee always thinks himself to be the lowest, incompetent, and unqualified. Thus, after hearing the narration of Prahlad, Yudhishthir, who was also on the same standard of bhakti as Prahlad, lamented out of his humility. He's thinking, oh, Prahlad was so fortunate to see the Lord, but we are not so fortunate. So now Narad immediately encouraged him as follows. And there's this verse, Yuyam nirloke bataburi bhaga lokam punana munayopi anti yashankrihan avasatiti shakshad guram param brahma manusha lingam. You Pandavas are most fortunate, for Krishna personally lives in your palace, because he is attracted to you. Knowing this, great saints visit your house. Note, although Lord Nrsimhadev appeared for Prahlad, the Supreme Personality, in his original form as Krishna. Let me reread that. Although Lord Nrsimhadev appeared for Prahlad, the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his original form as Krishna was always living with the Pandavas. Nārada Muni said, you Pandavas are more fortunate than Prahlad, than me, his guru, than other devotees, than previous members of your dynasty like Yadu and Puru. You're more fortunate than the sages like Vasishta, Marichi, and Kashyapa, than Brahma and Shiva. You are most fortunate among all jivas. Krishna does not personally live in human form in the house of Prahlad and others, and the sages do not come there to see him. Krishna is your intimate friend, cousin, constant well-wisher, and spiritual master. He is the source of Brahman, yet acts as your servant. Yudhishthira might ask, why does the basis of Brahman act as a servant for the material people like us? Nārada Muni now explains the difficulty in understanding or describing about Krishna's great powers and his being controlled by the devotees' prema. Even Shiva and Brahma could not properly describe the truth of the Supreme Lord. May the Lord be pleased with us. Link. Yudhishthira might ask, Brahma may not understand Krishna, but Shiva can understand. To explain this, Narada narrates another story, that even Shiva derives power from Krishna. Okay, I was wondering why he explained that. It seems kind of random him explaining this story, but there's a reason. Even Shiva and Brahma could not probably describe the truth of the Supreme Lord. May the Lord be pleased. So Narada Muni said, long, long ago. Oh, and Indira Mataji, she sent some pictures for us also. Let me open that up. Okay, so actually I'll just open these all up now. 1 second, let me just open this. Okay, so there's Prahlad putting his hand on the head, Nrsingadev putting his hand on the head of Prahlad Maharaj. There's Prahlad Maharaj being coronated as the king. And now, look, and there's Brahma and Shiva. Now, this is Nārada Muni speaking to Yudhishthira Maharaj. And let's see. Okay, we'll go over this right now. Okay. So then Nārada Muni said, long, long ago, Danava reduced the reputation of Lord Shiva. In that situation, the Supreme Lord Krishna saved Lord Shiva. Yudhishthira asked, for what reason did Maya Danava vanquish Lord Shiva's reputation? How did Lord Krishna save Lord Shiva? Now Nārada Muni narrates the story of Shiva killing the demons with the help of Vishnu. When the demigods defeated the demons took shelter of Maya Danava. Mystic Maya Danava made 3 invisible residences, resembling airplanes made of gold, silver, and iron, and gave them to the demons. Thus the demons remained invisible to the demigods and began to vanquish the 3 worlds. Then the rulers of those planets surrendered to Lord Shiva for protection. Lord Shiva reassured the demigods and released his golden arrows that covered the 3 residential airplanes and the demons lost their lives. Maya Danava revived the demons by putting their dead bodies into a well of nectar, Mritu Sanjeevani nectar. The demons then became strong like thunderbolts and got up like lightning. Shiva became disappointed. But Vishnu then thought of a solution, and there's a picture of Maya Danava reviving the demons. See? And there they are, getting up like thunderbolts. Okay. I like the expression on that guy's face. Okay. Okay. So then Lord Vishnu thought of a solution. Lord Vishnu and Brahma became a cow and a calf, respectively, and drank all the nectar in the well. No, they don't have the... Okay, I just wanted to see if that was in there. What happened? Okay. Because of the Lord's illusion, the demons could not forbid the cow and calf. Mayadanava could understand this. Mayadanava said to the demons, "What has been destined by the Supreme Lord cannot be undone anywhere by anyone, including the demigods, demons, or humans." Mayadanava said, Mayadanava said, "However, I plan, you plan, or both of us plan. The Lord has planned what is to happen. No one's plan will be successful without his sanction." Thereafter, Lord Krishna equipped Shiva with all paraphernalia like a chariot, a charioteer, flag, horses, elephants, bow, shield, and arrows, which were empowered by Krishna's potency, consisting of religion, knowledge, renunciation, opulence, austerity, education, and activities. Then Shiva sat on the chariots to fight with the demons. Shiva set fire to all three residents, and destroyed them. The demigods, saints, and others showered flowers and praised Shiva. Shiva became known as Tripurari. Thus, Sri Krishna performs many uncommon, wonderful pastimes, hearing which everyone can be purified. Let's see a picture of Tripurari Shiva destroying the cities. Where is that? There. There's the invisible cities in the sky. There's Shiva destroying them. All right. Zoom out so you can see the whole thing. All right. So now we're going to begin chapter 11. That's what we read yesterday. Now we're reading chapter 11. Yudhishthira further inquires from Nārada Muni. He wants to hear about sanātana-dharma and varṇas-dharma. And then Nārada Muni explains the principles of sanātana-dharma. And then he explains varṇas-dharma. All right. So that's what we're reading today. 1 to 24. What time is it? Okay. Let's begin. Where am I? Oh. On Haribol, Prajumna Prabhu, and Mantramurti Mataji. And Raseshwari Mataji is here. Who else is here? Where's Ganga Didi? The Pandavas forget who is Krishna. Otherwise, Arjuna will not make him his charioteer, right? I think like it's like they remember and they forget and they remember. I think there's I don't know though. Somebody probably has a better answer than me. Wonder if, I think the Pandavas sometimes forget how Krishna is God because of Yoga Maya. Yes, I think so. Yes, that sounds right to me, Indira Mataji and Rup Manjari Didi. Right. The mothership is destroyed. All 3 motherships. Dandavat pranams, Madhavi Didi. You're just in time. We're just about to start. Is everything there? Okay. Okay, chapter 11, the perfect society, 4 social classes. Oh, and just one more thing I wanted to... so the first 10 chapters of the 7th canto describes the pure inclination, uti, arising from unalloyed bhakti unmixed with material modes. Now, these last 5 chapters describe the excellence of varnashram for material sustenance. They describe Nishkam Karma Yoga as the cause of inclinations for bhakti mixed with material modes. In this chapter, Nārada Muni describes the duties of the normal varnas, the duties of women, and the mixed varnas. All right, so that's what we're reading now. This chapter describes the general principles by following which a human being, and specifically one interested in advancing in spiritual life, can become perfect. By hearing about the characteristics of Prahlad Maharaj, Maharaj Yudhishthira became extremely pleased. Now he inquired from Nārada Muni about the actual religion of the human being and about special characteristics of Varnashram Dharma, which marks the highest status of human civilization. When Maharaj Yudhishthira asked Nārada Muni about these matters, Nārada Muni stopped giving his own statements and quoted statements by Lord Narayan, for he is the supreme for he is the supreme authority for giving religious codes. Dharmam tu shakshad bhagavan pranitam. Every human being is expected to acquire 30 qualities, such as truthfulness, mercy, and austerity. The process of following the principles of religion is known as sanātana-dharma, the eternal religious system. The varnashram system delineates the divisions of Brahman, Kshatriya, and Shudra. It also sets forth the system of samskars. The Garbhadhan samskar, the ceremony for begetting a child, must be observed by the higher section of people, namely the dvijas. One who follows the Garbhadhan samskar system is actually twice born, but those who do not, who deviate from the principles of varnashram dharma, are called dvijabandhus. The principal occupations for a Brahman are worshipping the deity, teaching others how to worship the deity, studying the Vedic literatures, teaching the Vedic literatures, accepting charity from others, and again giving charity to others. A Brahman should make his livelihood from these 6 occupational duties. The duty of a Kshatriya is to give protection to the citizens and levy taxes upon them, but he is forbidden to tax the Brahmins. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement should therefore be exempt from governmental taxation. Kshatriyas may tax everyone but the Brahmins. Vaishyas should cultivate the land, produce food grains, and protect the cows, whereas the Shudras, who by quality never become Brahmins, Kshatriyas or Vaishyas, they should serve the 3 higher classes and be satisfied. Other means of livelihood are also prescribed for the Brahmins, and these are 4: Shalina, Yayavar, Shila, and Unchana. Each of these occupational duties is successively better. One who is in a lower grade of social life cannot accept the profession of a higher class unless necessary. In times of emergency, all the classes but the Kshatriyas may accept professional duties of others. That's interesting. The means of livelihood known as Rita, Shilonchana, Amrita, Ayachita, Mritya, Yachna, Pramrita, Karshana, and Satnrita, Vanija, may be accepted by everyone but the Kshatriyas. Okay, whatever those words mean. For a Brahman or a Kshatriya, engaging in the service of the Vaishyas or Shudras is considered the profession of dogs. Nārada Muni also described that the symptom of a Brahman is controlled senses. The symptom of a Kshatriya are power and fame. The symptom of a Vaishya is service to the Brahmins and Kshatriyas, and the symptom of a Shudra is service to the 3 higher classes. The qualification for a woman is to be a very faithful and chaste wife. In this way, one second, I have to sneeze. And then when he described the characteristics of higher and lower grades of people and recommended that one follow the principles of his caste or his hereditary occupation. Oh God, I hope this ends. One cannot suddenly give up a profession to which he is accustomed, and therefore it is recommended that one gradually be awakened. The symptoms of Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras are very important, and therefore one should be designated. Oh God, I'm gonna have to blow my nose for a second. One second, let me just finish this. The symptoms of Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras are very important, and therefore one should be designated only by these symptoms, and not by birth. Designation by birth is strictly forbidden by Nārada Muni and all great personalities. Okay. Oh God, I don't know where the sneezing came from. It just came out of nowhere. Okay. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Oh man, I don't think the sneezing's gonna go away. Okay, I think I avoided it just now. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Shrehitam sadhu sabha sabhajitam mahatama granya urukramatmana yudhishthiro daitya pater mudanvita prapacha bhuyastanayang swayambhuva. Shukadev Goswami continued, after hearing about the activities and character of Prahlad Maharaj, which are adored and discussed among great personalities like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, Yudhishthira Maharaj, the most respectful king among exalted personalities, again inquired from the great saint Nārada Muni in a mood of great pleasure. Shri Yudhishthira Vacha Bhagavan Shrotumichami Nrinam Dharmam Sanatanam Varnashrama Yutam Yat Puman Vindate Param. Maharaj Yudhishthira said, My dear Lord, I wish to hear from you about the principles of religion by which one can attain the ultimate goal of life, devotional service. I wish to hear about the general occupational duties of human society and the system of social and spiritual advancement known as varṇas-dharma. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Sanatana-dharma means devotional service. The word sanatan refers to that which is eternal, which does not change but continues in all circumstances. We have several times explained what the eternal occupational duty of the living being is. Indeed, it has been explained by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jivera Sarupa Hoy Krishnera Nityadas, CC Madhya 2108. The real occupational duty of the living entity is to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even if one prefers to deviate from this principle, he remains a servant because that is his eternal position. But one serves Maya, the illusory material energy. The Krishna consciousness movement, therefore, is an attempt to guide human society to serving the personality of Godhead instead of serving the material world with no real profit. Our actual experience is that every man, animal, bird, and beast, indeed every living entity, is engaged in rendering service. Even though one's body or one's superficial religion may change, every living entity is always engaged in the service of someone. Therefore, the mentality of service is called the eternal occupational duty. This eternal occupational duty can be organized through the institution of varnashram, in which there are 4 varnas, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, and 4 ashrams, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. Thus, Yudhishthira Maharaj inquired from Nārada Muni about the principles of Dharma for the benefit of human society. Bhavan Prajapate Shakshad Atmaja Parameshtina Sutanam Sammato Brahmangs Tapo Yoga Samadhibhihi. O best of the Brahmins, you are directly the son of Prajapati, Lord Brahma. Because of your austerities, mystic yoga, and trance, you are considered the best of all of Lord Brahma's sons. Narayana paravipra dharmam goyam param vidu karuna sadhava shantas tvadvidana tatapare. No one is superior to you in peaceful life and mercy, and no one knows better than you how to execute devotional service or how to become the best of the Brahmanas. Therefore, you know all the principles of comfort religious life, and no one knows them better than you. Purport. Yudhishthira Maharaj knew that Nārada Muni is the supreme spiritual master of human society who can teach the path of spiritual liberation leading to the understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Actually, it is for this purpose that Nārada Muni compiled his Bhakti Sutra and gave directions in the Nārada Pancharatra. To learn about religious principles and the perfection of life, one must take instruction from the disciplic succession of Nārada Muni. Our Krishna consciousness movement is directly in the line of the Brahma Sampradaya,
Nārada Muni received instructions from Lord Brahma and in turn transmitted the instructions to Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva instructed his son, Shukadeva Goswami, who spoke Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. The Krishna consciousness movement is based on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Because Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam was spoken by Shukadeva Goswami and Bhagavad Gita was spoken by Krishna, there is no difference between them. If we strive the principle of disciplic succession, we are certainly on the right path of spiritual liberation or eternal engagement in devotional service. Shri Narad Uvacha Natva Bhagavate Jaya Jaya Lokanam Dharma Setave Vakshe Sanatanam Dharmam Narayana Mukhatrutam. Shri Nārada Muni said, after first offering my obeisances unto Lord Krishna, the protector of the religious principles of all living entities, let me explain the principles of the eternal religious system, of which I have heard from the mouth of Narayan. Purport. The word Aja refers to Krishna, who explains in Bhagavad Gita 4.6, Ajo pisan avyayatma. I am ever existing, and thus I never take birth. There is no change in my essence. Text 6. Yogiryatmanom kshena dakshayanyam tu dharmata lokanam svastaye dhyaste tapo bhadarikashrame. Lord Narayana, along with his partial manifestation Nara, appeared in this world through the daughter of Daksha Maharaj, known as Murti. He was begotten by Dharma Maharaj for the benefit of all living entities. Even now, he is still engaged in executing great austerities near the place known as Badarikashram. Dharma Mulam hi Bhagavan Sarvaveda Mayo Hari Smritam cha Tarvidang Rajan Yena Chatma Prasiddhati. The Supreme Being, the personality of God, the essence of all Vedic knowledge, the root of all religious principles, and the memory of great authorities. O King Yudhishthir, this principle of religion is to be understood as evidence. On the basis of this religious principle, everything is satisfied, including one's mind, soul, and even one's body. Purport. As stated by Yamaraj, Dharmam tu shakshad bhagavat pranitam. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 6.3.19. Yamaraj, the representative of the Lord who takes care of the living entities after their death, gives his verdict as to how and when the living being will change his body. He is the authority, and he says that the religious principles consist of the codes and laws given by God. No one can manufacture religion, and therefore, manufactured religious systems are rejected by the followers of the Vedic principles. In Bhagavad Gita 15.15, it is said, Vedaishtrasaham aham eva vedya. Vedic knowledge means to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Therefore, whether one speaks of the Vedas, scriptures, religion, or the principles of everyone's occupational duty, all of them must aim at understanding Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1.2.6 therefore concludes, Savai pungsam paro dharmo eto bhaktir adhokshaje ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasiddhati. In other words, religious principles aim at learning how to render transcendental loving service to the Lord. That service must be unmotivated and unchecked by material conditions. Then human society will be happy in all respects. The Smriti, the scriptures following the principles of Vedic knowledge, are considered the evidence of Vedic principles. There are 20 different types of scripture for following religious principles, and among them, the scriptures of Manu and Yajnavalkya are considered to be all-pervading authorities. In the Yajnavalkya Smriti, it is said, Shruti Smriti Sadachara Swasya Cha Priyamatmana Samyak Sankalpaja Kamo Dharma Mulam Idam Smritam. One should learn human behavior from Shruti, the Vedas, and from Smriti, the scriptures following the Vedic principles. Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu says, Shruti Smriti Puranari Pancharatram Vidin Vina Aikantiki Harer Bhaktir Utpata Yaiva Kalpate. The purport, this isn't actually in the... let's read it anyways. Devotional service of the Lord that ignores the authorized Vedic literatures like the Upanishads, Puranas, and Narada Pancharatara is simply an unnecessary disturbance in society. It's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-10. The purport is that to become a devotee, one must follow the principles laid down in Shruti and Smriti. One must follow the codes of the Puranas and the Pancharataki Vidi. One cannot be a pure devotee without following the Shruti and Smriti, and the Shruti and Smriti without devotional service cannot lead one to the perfection of life. Therefore, from all the evidence, the conclusion is that without bhakti, devotional service, there is no question of religious principles. God is a central figure in the religious principles. Almost everything going on in this world as religion is devoid of any idea of devotional service, and is therefore condemned by the verdict of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Without devotional service, so-called religious principles are only cheating. Oh, this is a famous verse. Satyam daya tapashocham titikshiksha shamo dhamma ahimsa brahmacharyam cha tyaga swadhyaya arjavam gramye ho paramashanai nrina viparyaye hiksha monam atma vimarshanam bhutebhyascha yatarhata teshvatma devata buddhi sutam nrishupandava. Oh, I don't know if I'm skipping words. Let me start from here. Santosheva gramye paramashanai nrina viparya heksha monamatma vimarshanam anadyade samvibhago bhutebhyascha yatarhata teshvatma devata buddhi sutaram nrishupandava Shravana kirtanam chasya smaranam mahatam gate sevajava natir dasyam sakyam atma samarpanam nrinam ayam paro dharma sarvesham samudadhrita tringsha lakshanavan rajan sarvatma yena tushyati. All right, let's see. These are the general principles to be followed by all human beings. Truthfulness, mercy, austerity, observing fast on certain days of the month, bathing twice a day, tolerance, discrimination between right and wrong, control of the mind, control of the senses, non-violence, celibacy, charity, reading of scripture, simplicity, satisfaction, rendering service to saintly persons, gradually taking leave of unnecessary engagements, observing the futility of the unnecessary activities of human society, remaining silent and grave and avoiding unnecessary talk, considering whether one is the body or the soul, distributing food equally to all living entities, both men and animals. Oh, we should be feeding animals. Seeing every soul, especially in the human form, as a part of the Supreme Lord, hearing about the activities and instructions given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the shelter of the saintly persons, chanting about these activities and instructions, always remembering these activities and instructions, trying to render service, performing worship, offering obeisances, becoming a servant, becoming a friend, and surrendering one's whole self. O King Yudhishthir, these 30 qualifications must be acquired in the human form of life. Simply by acquiring these qualifications, one can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In order that human beings be distinct from the animals, the great Saint Nārada recommends that every human being be educated in the terms of the above-mentioned 30 qualifications. Nowadays, there is propaganda everywhere, all over the world, for a secular state, a state interested only in mundane activities. But if the citizens of the state are not educated in the above-mentioned good qualities, can there be happiness? For example, if the whole populace is untruthful, how can the state be happy? Therefore, without consideration of one's belonging to religion, whether Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, or any other sect, everyone should be taught to become truthful. Similarly, everyone should be taught to be merciful, and everyone should observe fasting on certain days of the month. Everyone should bathe twice a day, cleanse his teeth and body externally, and cleanse his mind internally by remembering the holy name of the Lord. The Lord is one, whether one is Hindu, Muslim, or Christian. Therefore, one should chant the holy name of the Lord regardless of differences in linguistic pronunciation. Also, everyone should be taught to be very careful not to discharge semen unnecessarily. This is very important for all human beings. If it's okay. If semen is not discharged unnecessarily, one becomes extremely strong in memory, determination, activity, and the vitality of one's bodily energy. Everyone should also be taught to be simple in thought and feeling, and satisfied in body and mind. These are the general qualifications of a human being. There is no question of a secular state or an ecclesiastical state. Unless one is educated in the above-mentioned 30 qualities, there cannot be any peace. Ultimately, it is recommended, Shravanam kirtanam chasya smaranam mahatam gate sevajavanatir dasyam sakyam atma samarpanam. Everyone should become a devotee of the Lord, because by becoming a devotee of the Lord, one automatically acquires the other qualities. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavata kinchana sarvarguna statra sura harava bhaktasya kuto muharguna manoratena satidhavato bahi. In one who has unflinching devotional service to Krishna, all the good qualities of Krishna and the demigods are consistently manifest. However, he who has no devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead has no good qualifications, because he is engaged by mental concoction in material existence, which is the external feature of the Lord. That's from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 5.18.12. Our Krishna consciousness movement, therefore, is all-embracing. Human civilization should take it very seriously and practice its principles for the peace of the world. Samskara yatra vichana sadvijo jagadayam ejadhyayana dhanani vihitani dvijanmanam janma karma vadatanam kriyashastra machodita. Those who have been reformed by the Garbhadan ceremony and other prescribed reformatory methods perform with Vedic mantras and without interruption. Sorry guys, I messed up. Those who have been reformed by the Garbhadan ceremony and other prescribed reformatory methods, performed with Vedic mantras and without interruption, and who have been approved by Lord Brahma, are Dvijas, or twice-born. Such Brahmans, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, purified by their family traditions and by their behavior, should worship the Lord, study the Vedas, and give charity. In this system, they should follow the principles of the 4 ashrams, Brahmacharya, Ganaprastha, and Sannyas. After giving a general list of 30 qualifications for one's behavior, Nārada Muni now describes the principles of the 4 varnas and 4 ashrams. A human being must be trained in the above-mentioned 30 qualities. Otherwise, he is not even a human being. Then, among such qualified persons, the varnashram process should be introduced. In the varnashram system, the first ceremony for purification is garbhadhan, which is performed with mantras at the time of sex for propagating a good child. One who uses sex life not for sensual pleasures, but only to beget children according to the reformatory method, is also accepted as a brahmachari. One should not waste semen on sensual pleasure, violating the principles of Vedic life. Is this okay in front of me? Okay. Okay. That's the reason. Okay. Restraint's possible, however, only when the populace is chained in the above-mentioned 30 qualities. Otherwise, it is not possible. Even if one is born in a family of Dvijas, or twice born, if they have not followed the reformatory process, he is called a Dvija Bandhu, not one of the twice born, but a friend of the twice born. The whole purpose of this system is to create good population. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, when women are polluted, the populace is varna sankara, and when the varna sankara population increases, the situation of the entire world becomes hellish. Therefore, all the Vedic literature strongly warn against creating varna sankara population. When there is varna sankara population, the people cannot be properly controlled for peace and prosperity, regardless of great legislative assemblies, parliaments, and similar bodies. Viprasyadhyayanadini sharanyasya pratigraha yagyo vritti prajagoptur aviprad vakaradi. For a Brahman, there are 6 occupational duties. A Kshatriya should not accept charity, but he may perform the other 5 of these duties. A king or Kshatriya is not allowed to levy taxes on Brahmins, but he may make his livelihood by levying minimal taxes, customs duties, and penalty fines upon his other subjects. Purport. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur explains the position of the Brahmins and Kshatriyas as follows. Brahmins have 6 occupational duties, of which 3 are compulsory, namely, studying the Vedas, worshipping the deity, and giving charity. By teaching, by inducing others to worship the deity, and by accepting gifts, the Brahmins receive the necessities of life. This is also confirmed in the Manu Samhita. Shandam tu karmanamasya trini karmani jivika yajadhyapane cha vishuddhachcha pratigraha. Of the 6 occupational duties of the Brahmins, 3 are compulsory, namely worship of the deity, study of the Vedas, and the giving of charity. In exchange, a Brahmin should receive charity, and this should be his means of livelihood. A Brahmin cannot take up any professional occupational duty for his livelihood. The Shastras especially stress that if one claims to be a Brahmin, he cannot engage in the service of anyone else. Otherwise, he at once falls from his position and becomes a Shudra. That is. Srila Rupa Goswami, astrology, you're not supposed to charge money for doing astrology. That's what my dad learned. Anyways, whatever. Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami belongs to a very respectful family, but because they engaged in the service of Nawab Hussain Shah, not even as ordinary clerks, but they were ostracized from the Brahminical society. Indeed, they became like Mohammedans and even changed their names. Unless a Brahmin is very pure, he cannot accept charity. Charity should be given to those who are pure. Even if one is in a family of Brahmins, if one acts as a Shudra, one cannot accept charity, for this is strictly prohibited. Although the Kshatriyas are almost as qualified as the Brahmins, even they cannot accept charity. This is strictly prohibited in this verse by the word apratigraha. What to speak of the lower social orders, even the Kshatriyas must not accept charity. The king or government may levy taxes upon the citizens in various ways, by revenue duties, custom duties, realization of fines, and so on, provided the king is able to give full protection to his subjects to assure the security of their life and property. Unless he is able to give protection, he cannot levy taxes. However, a king must not levy any tax upon the Vaishnavas fully engaged in Krishna consciousness. 622. Vaishyastu vartavrittisyan nityam brahma kulanuga Shudrasya dvijashushrusha vrittishcha swamito bhavet. The mercantile community should always follow the directions of the Brahmins and engage in such occupational duties as agricultural, agriculture, trade, and protection of cows. For the Shudras, the only duty is to accept a master from a higher social order and engage in his service. Varta vichitrashalina yayavara shilonchanam vipravrittish chaturdheyam shreyasi chotarottara. As an alternative, a Brahmin may also take to the Vaishya's occupational duty of agriculture, cow protection, or trade. He may depend on that which he has received without begging. He may beg in the paddy field every day. He may collect paddy left in a field by its proprietor, or he may collect food grains left here and there in the shops of grain dealers. These are 4 means of livelihood that may also be adopted by Brahmins. Among these 4, each of them in succession is better than the one preceding it. Okay. Purport. A Brahmin is sometimes offered land and cows in charity, and thus for his livelihood, he may act in the same way as a Vaishya by cultivating land, giving protection to cows, and trading off his surpluses. A better process, however, is to pick up grains from a field or from a dealer's shop without begging. Jaganyo nottamam vrittim anapadi bhajen nara ritera janyamapatsu sarvesham apravashaha. Except in a time of emergency, lower men should not accept the occupational duties of those who are higher. When there is such an emergency, of course, everyone but the Kshatriya may accept the means of livelihood of others. It's interesting that only Kshatriyas are not allowed to. Purport. The occupational duty of a Brahmin should not be accepted by persons in lower social orders, especially Vaishyas and Shudras. For example, an occupational duty of the Brahmins is to teach Vedic knowledge. But unless there is an emergency, this professional duty should not be accepted by the Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, or Shudras. Even a Kshatriya cannot accept the duties of a Brahmin unless there is an emergency. And then, even if he does so, he should not accept charity from anyone else. Tirthamar is a Kshatriya by Varna. Sometimes Brahmins protest our Krishna consciousness movement for creating Brahmins from Europeans, or in other words, from Malechas and Yavanas. This movement, however, is here supported in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. At the present moment, society is in a chaotic condition, and everyone has given up the cultivation of spiritual life, which is especially meant for Brahmins. Because spiritual culture has been stopped all over the world, there is now an emergency, and therefore, it is now time to train those who are considered lower and condemned so that they may become Brahmins and take up the work of spiritual progress. The spiritual progress of human society has been stopped, and this should be considered an emergency. Here is a solid support from Nārada Muni of the movements known as Krishna consciousness. Ritam ritabhyam jiveta mritena pramritena va satyanritabhyamapiva nashvapya kadachana amritam ayachitam. Oh wait, I should do this. Ritam uchanchilam proktam amritam yad avyachitam mritam tu nitayachna syat pramritam karshanam smritam satyanritam chavanijyam shvavritir nichasevanam varjayitam sada vipro yajanyascha jugupsitam sarva vedamayo vipra sarva deva mayo nripa. Oh, we have 4 minutes left. Okay. In time of emergency, one may accept any of the various types of professions known as Rita, Amrita, Mrita, Pramrita, and Satyanrita. But one should not at any time accept the profession of a dog. What's the profession of a dog? The profession of Unchashila, collecting grains from the fields, is called Rita. Collecting without begging is called Amrita. Begging grains is called Mrita. Tilling the ground is called Pramrita. And trade is called Satyanrita. Engaging in the service of low-grade persons, however, is called Shvavritti, the profession of the dogs. Specifically, Brahmins and Kshatriyas should not engage in low and abominable service of Shudras. Brahmins should be well acquainted with all the Vedic knowledge, and Kshatriyas should be well acquainted with the worship of demigods. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 4.13, Chaturvanyam maya shrishtam guna karma. The four divisions of human society were created by the Supreme Lord according to the three modes of material nature and the work ascribed to them. Formerly, the principle of dividing human society into four sections, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, was strictly followed. But because of gradual neglect of the Varnashram principles, Varna Sankar population developed, and the entire institution has now been lost. In this age of Kali, practically everyone is a Shudra, Kalo Shudra Sambhava, and finding anyone who's a Brahman, Kshatriya, or Vaishya is very difficult. Although the Krishna consciousness movement is a movement of Brahmins and Vaishnavas, it is trying to re-establish the divine Varnashram institution, for without this division of society, there cannot be peace and prosperity anywhere. 2 more minutes. Okay, let's get to this quick. Shamo damasapashocham shantoshak shantirarjavam jnanam dayachuta matvam satyam cha brahmalakshanam. The symptoms of a Brahman are control of the mind, control of the senses, austerity and penance, cleanliness, satisfaction, forgiveness, simplicity, knowledge, mercy, truthfulness, and complete surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. In the institution of Varnashram Dharma, the symptoms of a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasi are all described. The ultimate aim is Achyutatmatvam, to always think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna or Vishnu. To make advancement in Krishna consciousness, one has to become a Brahman with the above-mentioned symptoms. Shauryam Viryam Ditishchejas Tyagaschatma Jaya Kshama Brahmanyata Prasadascha Satyam Cha Kshatralakshanam. To be influential and unconquerable, patient, challenging, and charitable, to control the bodily necessities, to be forgiving, to be attached to the Brahminical nature, and to be always jolly and truthful. These are the symptoms of the Kshatriya. Deva Gurvachute Bhaktish Trivarga Pariposhanam Astikyam Udyamo Nityam Naipunyam Vaishalakshanam. Being always devoted to the demigods, the spiritual master, and the Supreme Lord Vishnu, endeavoring for advancement in religious principles, economic development and sense gratification, dharma, artha, and kama, believing in the words of the spiritual master and scripture, and always endeavoring with expertise in earning money. These are the symptoms of the Vaishya. Wow, Vaishya sounds better than Brahmana and Kshatriya. Shudrasya sanati shocham seva swaminyamaya amantra yagyo hyasteyam satyam go viprakshanam. Offering obeisances to the higher sections of society, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, being always very clean, being free from duplicity, serving one's master, performing sacrifices without uttering mantras, not stealing, always speaking the truth, and giving all protection to the cows and Brahmins. These are the symptoms of the Shudra. Oh, I like the Shudra too. Being free from duplicity, being very clean. Yeah. Purport. It is everyone's experience that workers or servants are generally accustomed to stealing. A first-class servant is one who does not steal. Here it is recommended that a first-class Shudra must remain very clean, must not steal or speak lies, and must always render service to his master. A Shudra may attend sacrifices and Vedic ritualistic ceremonies, but he should not utter the mantras, for these may be uttered only by the members of the higher sections of society. Unless one is completely pure and has been raised to the spirit of a Brahman, Kshatriya, or Vaishya, in other words, unless one is a Dvija, twice-born, the chanting of mantras will not be fruitful. Alright, so that's the last verse. We only went 2 minutes over time, that's not way too bad. Alright. Hare Krishna. Oh, Dandavat Pranams, Rukamini Didi.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. जय श्री श्री गुरु गौरांगदा विकगिरिधारी श्री श्री राधा विनोद बिहारी जू की जय, श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मरण मोहन जू की जय, नितिल प्रविष्ट विष्णुपाद अष्टतर शतस्माद शिल भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज शिल गुरुदेव की जय, नितिल प्रविष्ट विष्णुपाद अष्टतर शतस्माद शिल भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जय, नितिल प्रविष्ट विष्णुपाद अष्टतर शतस्माद शिल भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज शिल प्रभुपाद की जय, Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashitarashitashman Shila. Did I say Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai? Sorry, I spaced out for a minute. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashitarashitashman Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashitarashitashman Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Mahabhagavat Shila Goksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitila Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Nitila Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai, Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai, Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Shara Gosai Prabhu ki jai, Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai, Nama Chay Shri Hairas Thakur ki jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Kshetra Mandal Gaura Mandal Braja Mandal Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Sarva Abhishtapadat Giri Raj Maharaj ki jai, Shri Radha Kun Shama Kun Yamunagam Tulsi Bhakti Devi ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo Vrindai Tulsi Devai. Priyai Keshavascha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavataya Namo Nama Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams everybody, and see you tomorrow. Jai Shri Radhe. For Jumnabru, no, I've never read the book of Kundali Das called Nectar of Discrimination. Never heard of it. Alright, Dandavat pranams. Haribo.